What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do at the very least 3 times a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. By the way, let me take a moment, as always, to show my love and appreciation to all my followers and subscribers. We continue to climb. We've now exceeded over 711,000 subscribers. Can't thank y'all enough for the love and support, not just on YouTube, but the over 1.2 million downloads I've received on iHeartRadio as well. The love is extreme. It keeps on coming, and I can't thank y'all enough. Keep it coming, though, and I'm going to keep on coming. To continue to like and follow the show, just click the bell to get notified for all of our new content, and boom, you'll be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're doing all of that, please take a moment to pick up a copy of my New York Times best-selling book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback. Just go to straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Once again, that's straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. We all know that Bronny James is a story to be talking about, right? So we're going to get started with that right now. Yesterday, the Los Angeles Lakers selected Bronny James, the son of LeBron James, with the 55th overall pick in the second round. LeBron and his son now officially have the opportunity to be the first father-son duo to play in the NBA at the same time and for the same team. Reaction to this story has been very mixed, to say the least. And many out there are claiming nepotism is the only reason Bronny is now a Laker. I had a lot to say, but before I show you something that I said earlier today, let me say this. Bronny James, thank God he's in this position. If y'all remember, he suffered cardiac arrest last year while on the campus of USC. We didn't know what his status was. We didn't know what his health was like. We didn't know whether or not he'd ever be able to play basketball again. And I remember when we first heard it, we didn't know if he was going to survive. So for him, a year later, to be in this position, after being hospitalized, after being prohibited from playing basketball until last January, I don't give a damn about him averaging less than 5 points. I don't care about his numbers or anything like that. You heard about his athleticism. You heard about his defensive prowess. You heard about the potential that he may have. We're not blind, however. We recognize the fact that if he were not LeBron James' son, in all likelihood, he would not have even been drafted. If he were not LeBron James' son, he damn sure would not have been drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers. If he were not LeBron James' son, he would not be in this position. So we can't be oblivious or turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the fact that the opportunity that he received is an opportunity practically no one gets a chance at. There are his numbers: 4.8 points, 36.6% shooting, 2.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 19.4 minutes a game. Those are not numbers that get you drafted. So there was questions as to whether or not he deserved to be a McDonald's All-American compared to some other noteworthy individuals who felt that they were more deserving. There's questions about his career at USC because he didn't play there long enough, and what he could have done against collegiate competition, let alone NBA competition. And now there are questions as to whether or not he'll ever make a Lakers roster, and certainly whether or not he deserves to. That scrutiny is valid. It's understandable, and he's got a lot to prove. I'm rooting for him. But the one thing I don't want to hear a damn thing about is nepotism. My friend, my partner, Adrian Wojnarowski on NBA Countdown spoke about it yesterday and saying he didn't want to hear it either because we both know, covering the NBA for years, executives, owners, coaches, nepotism has been going on in the National Basketball Association for ages. Nobody said anything about it before. We damn sure don't want to hear about it now. And I piggybacked off of my teammate yesterday by elaborating on that extensively this morning on First Take. Take a look to what I have to say, because I only want to say it once. Here you go. We live in a country where nepotism has taken place with white folks religiously forever. We've said little to nothing about it. In the NBA specifically, in a league where at least 70% of the players are black, we've seen nepotism with white folks all over the place. Ownership, executive ranks, player personnel, scouting, coaching. The list goes on and on. We've said little to nothing about it. And now this happens with LeBron James, a member of the Mount Rushmore of basketball. And all of a sudden, you've got people running their mouths. LeBron James is approaching 40 years of age. He ain't somebody that faded into the twilight. He's still an all-world player. LeBron James, if LeBron James was on the New York Knicks now, you trying to tell me the New York Knicks wouldn't be one of the favorites to win the chip? Right now, approaching age 40. So to be in Los Angeles, to still be box office, to still be the magnifying talent that he is, yes, he has manipulated the proceedings somewhat. We get that. Bronny James would not be on an NBA roster if it were not for LeBron James. He would not have gotten drafted in all likelihood yesterday if it were not for LeBron James. We all know this. We accept it. The issue is the resentment that's emanating from people out there. How dare you resent LeBron James? And if you're LeBron James, be mindful. See, now you're going to hear people book it. Book it. This is my expertise, media. I'm telling you what I know. Book this. In the days and the weeks to come, we going to bring up how he took his talents to South Beach. We going to bring up how he went back to Cleveland. We're going to bring up how he once held free agency hostage. You're going to hear all of these things along the way because it's a resentment of power. You see, people, regardless of the great businessman he has proven to be, you understand, the great talent he has proven to be, the great influencer he has proven to be on a multitude of levels. I'm not saying everybody because business is business. You got white folks out there that's all about business. They want to make money. They don't give a damn what color you are or what have you. Black, white, and in between. But the vast majority of people that are going to speak, what they're saying without saying it is that they just want you to be an athlete. They don't want you to have the cachet to be able to manipulate the proceedings, to be able to do something like, you know what, I want this person on this roster. I want this coach. What have we gotten mad about with LeBron and coaches? It wasn't the fact that coaches are changing. It's like, yo, LeBron, own it. If that's what you want, you don't want Darvin Ham, you don't want him. You want J.J. Redick, that's what you want. You want this coach, this coach. You are you. They sit up here now. My name is in the news all the time. We know why. They look at me at First Take on their talent. Do I not have a production company? Do I not produce content? Do I not have other stuff going on, Jay Williams, Big Perk? But you talk about as a talent because America, not everybody, not most, but a lot of people are about stay in your place, stay in your lane. And LeBron James has religiously been about the business of defining his own lane and showing that I don't have a lane, I got avenues, and I'm coming this way. And you ain't gonna do anything about it because I represent what I represent, how it's supposed to be represented on the highest level, and I've earned the right to be able to have this kind of power where I can manipulate proceedings to some degree. That is what we should be applauding LeBron James about because he's highlighting not only what we can do, but what so many people in this world don't want us to do. Floor is y'all's. I don't need to say any more than that. Moving on from the NBA to the WNBA. The Phoenix Mercury will host the Indiana Fever on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN, which means fans of the W will finally get to see the much-anticipated battle between veteran Teyana Taurasi and star rookie Caitlin Clark. When asked about her anticipation of facing Clark for the first time, Taurasi only had 4 words.
Your thoughts going into facing Caitlin Clark for the first time on Sunday?
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I expected more from Teyana Taurasi, ain't gonna lie about that. I expected something like can't wait. I expected something like get your popcorn ready. I expected something like, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this. Something like that. But it doesn't really matter because we remember what she said to Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter for ESPN months ago when she said there's levels to this. You know, it's one thing to go against young girls and stuff like that. You about to go up against grown women. We're going to be waiting for her. So guess what? This is Caitlin Clark's first visit against Teyana Taurasi. And it's going to be special. This is why I ain't missing this game. This is what you want to see. You see, If there's one player, if there's one type of player that has absolutely nothing to worry about, you see the numbers right there. Teyana Taylor, 40 years of age, 16 points a game, 39% shooting, 35% from three-point range. Numbers very comparable. Caitlin Clark has numbers incredibly comparable, if not exceeding field goal percentage, three-point field goal percentage to Teyana Taurasi. But she's half her age. So that just speaks to the greatness of Teyana Taylor, who we know is a winner extraordinaire. But Sunday's game is one thing to be a winner and to just have your game. It's another thing to have a mouth, which Teyana Taylor has. It's another thing to back it up and to let everybody know you ain't shying away from the challenge one bit. That's what we gonna see. Now, only thing I ask for in this game, I hope they guarding each other at least some of the time. I hope Caitlin Clark is guarding Teyana Taurasi. I hope Teyana Taurasi is guarding Caitlin Clark. I hope they're going right at each other. These are the kind of things that will elevate the cachet, the interest, the intrigue in the WNBA. Listen to me. I'm telling you what I know. Now, before I get to last night's presidential debate, because you know I'm going to talk about that, I've got to hand out my WNBA Player of the Week award. And this week, it once again goes to the dominant one herself, the one and only A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces. Did you see her last night against Angel Reese in the Sky? She dropped 31 points, 10 of 19 shooting, 95-83 win. It was the 18th 30-point game of Wilson's career and the 12th this season with at least 25 points. A'ja's leading the WNBA in both scoring and rebounding, and all I got to say is that is the reason why I ain't worried about no damn Minnesota Lynx. I ain't worried about the New York Liberty. I ain't worried about Connecticut Sun. I ain't worried about any of them because they got to go through A'ja Wilson. I don't give a damn about the recent struggle of the Las Vegas Aces. They're the reigning two-time champions. They getting everybody's A game. Hiccups happen. We get that. But when it really, really counts, and you got to prepare for them in the series, and they get to prepare for you, what you gonna do when you got to go up against A'ja Wilson in a best 3 or 5 series? What you gonna do? Best 2 or 3, best 3 or 5? I'm telling you right now, A'ja Wilson ain't no joke. You have to deal with her. And Chelsea Gray back too? Aces, y'all. Aces. Coming up, did you watch last night's presidential debate? Because you know I did, and I got a lot to say about it. I also have a guest, Chris Cuomo, in the house, just for a couple of minutes. You'll love hearing from him. So stick around, don't touch that dial or your radio dial. You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and iHeartRadio. Back with more in a minute. Everyone knows I live and breathe sports and that I have to be part of all the big games. But how do I do that exactly? I use PrizePicks, of course, the largest fantasy sports platform in all of the land with over 3 million members. All you do is select 2 or more players from your favorite sport, the WNBA, MLB, tennis, golf, even boxing, all right? And then choose more or less on their projected in-game stats. It not only fills my need for the big-time action, but it's incredibly easy to play and takes just 60 seconds to make your picks. So if you're like me and know everything in the world of sports and pick correctly, you'll have a chance to win some major league money. And get this, PrizePicks will match your first deposit of up to $100. That's right. Go to prizepicks.com and use code SAS for a first deposit match of up to $100. You heard me. That is code SAS when you go to prizepicks.com. Pick more, pick less. It's really that easy. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube. Thursday night, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump held their first of 2 scheduled debates moderated by CNN's Dana Bash and Jake Tapper at CNN Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. During the 90-minute debate, Biden and Trump were asked about the economy, the war in Ukraine, climate change, the border, and election denials, issues most Americans, in polls anyway, say they're most concerned about. And let's not get Roe v. Wade. Those are some of the issues heading into the 2024 election, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a disaster. It was an utter embarrassment. The fact that those 2 candidates, one that's been indicted and ultimately convicted, who's been impeached twice, the other who's clearly lost his fastball, he's a bit considerably slower than he used to be. No shame in that. He's 81 years of age. We're talking about our President Joe Biden. But the bottom line is that 2-3 minutes in, he froze. 2-3 minutes in, you were wondering, the panic mode hit because you were wondering whether or not this was going to be Mitch McConnell all over again when he froze during a press conference. It was scary as hell. And the fact that these are the two best candidates that the world has to see for the presidency of the United States might be one of the most embarrassing situations we've ever witnessed as a country. You know, I've been on the record and I've taken a lot of heat saying this, but the Democrats should be ashamed of themselves. It's a national disgrace that since 2016, you didn't have enough of a bullpen and you left folks to depend on Joe Biden. It's an absolute, utter disgrace that he was on that stage last night. Maybe he could sit behind a desk in the Oval Office and he's still sharp enough to make decisions. But clearly in a live format with no delays and no insulation whatsoever, where you stand out there on your own, mano a mano, versus a Donald Trump who, if nothing else, was sharp. I'm not saying he was telling the truth. I'm not saying that he was substantive in everything that came out of his mouth and he was honest and factual and all of that stuff, because we know that is never the case with Donald Trump. The bottom line is he appeared to be pretty sharp, lucid, aware, quick on his feet, etc. And to be quite honest with you, regardless of how disrespectful he appeared at times, I thought he took it light on Trump. I'm sorry, on Biden. I thought he took it light on Biden. It was that damn bad. Now, if you're the Democratic Party, you're going to have some people out there saying it was just one night and it was just one debate. Nah. What if Trump says, I don't need to debate again? And all we have to hold on to is what we witnessed last night. A brain fart within 3 minutes. Mumbling often enough where Donald Trump ended up saying, I don't understand what he said with that last sentence. I don't think he understands what he said. Where the nation is looking at it, and you have pundits on both sides of the aisle looking sad and despondent. In Van Jones' case for CNN, he looked like he was about to cry. Other pundits were saying, where are the family members? How could you put your dad out there like that? How could you put your husband out there like that? If you're the Democratic Party, how could you put one of your colleagues and your contemporaries out there like that? What the hell is going on? What's going on? He's not what he used to be. Ain't Kamala Harris qualified? Westmore, governor of Maryland, what about him? Gavin Newsom, you gonna still keep saying, you ain't running, you ain't running, you ain't running. Nobody's gonna go to Biden and say, we love you. We appreciate what you've done for this country, your years of service. But please, it's time for you to step aside. We just gonna let him go out there like that. We just gonna leave him out hanging like that. You know how desperate that makes you look as a Democratic Party? I can say that. I don't care about people coming after me. I have voted Democrat 99% of the time in my life. The only Republican I ever voted for was Governor Chris Christie in New Jersey. That's it. Don't come to me telling me as an American citizen I don't have a right to look at what I saw last night and be incredibly concerned. I understand this isn't the first romp we've seen in the debate. Barack Obama got destroyed in his first debate versus Mitt Romney. And he came back like a winner thereafter. But in the very first debate against Mitt Romney, it should have been a mercy rule inserted. It was that bad. But he's young enough, vibrant enough, intellectually heightened, obviously quick of foot, knowing, substantive, combative, etc., etc. He didn't have Father Time operating against him. There is no shame for Joe Biden. If you're listening, Mr. President, there's no shame in stepping away because you acknowledge you just don't have it anymore. Not on that kind of platform. But that's just me. Joe Biden, as far as I'm concerned, needs to step away. Kamala Harris needs to be inserted immediately as the candidate to go up against Trump, or get somebody else up in there. Get somebody else up in there. Because what we saw last night, Trump will be the next president of the United States of America come January 2025. Biden will not beat him. Not the Biden we saw on national television during a presidential debate last night. It will not happen. But that's just me. I've interviewed Chris Cuomo, and you can find more about it on YouTube. But I just want to show you a couple of excerpts from my interview with Chris Cuomo just a few minutes before this show began. I want you to provide a little tease about what's coming when you see the interview in its entirety. Check this out right now. Basically break down for me what we saw last night. I thought I was scared when the president froze within the first couple of minutes. I said, oh my God, please don't let this happen. Please don't let that. I don't wish that on anybody. I wouldn't wish it on Trump. I didn't wish it on him. It was just a bad scenario as far as I was concerned, although he ultimately came on and showed a little something as the debate progressed. What was your take on what we witnessed last night?
It was a good night, and it was a fast fight, Stephen A. To paraphrase Dennis Green, he is who we thought he was. He is who we thought he was.
Right.
This is a man who is in decline. Does that mean that he's a ghost and everybody else is making decisions for him? No. It means that when live and needing to be spontaneous, Joe Biden is no longer up to the task. And this is the reality. And the blame goes not to Biden. It goes to the party for how they locked people out of the process. And they have now put themselves in somewhat of a predicament because they put themselves in a position where they only win because of the anti-Trump vote. There is no pro-Biden vote. And that's a lot of pressure to put on the base. And look, your assessment of Trump is right. The frustration with him is he's a serial and pathological liar, and he doesn't tell anybody how he's going to do anything because all he is about being a demagogue and making people upset. And lucky for him, a lot of people have a lot of legit reasons to be upset and want disruption and want to see the system tore up. They tell you that all the time. So what did last night mean? It meant that people like me and you are right, that the system has to change, that the two parties have failed us, and that we have to do better. It's embarrassing that Trump and Biden is the best America can do.
You talked about the Democratic Party and them being at fault, and I completely agree with you. I've been going off about this for months, talking about how they should be ashamed of themselves. They've had 8 years to build a bullpen, and they have no bullpen whatsoever, to use a sports analogy when it comes to baseball. Nobody in the bullpen to take over in the event that this guy Biden ultimately just can't do it. And you alluded to the Democratic Party locking people out, essentially. I want you to elaborate on that. I want that coming from you instead of somebody like me. When you say that, specify what you mean by that statement. The Democratic Party did this to themselves by locking folks out.
They didn't allow a primary process. Now, part of that is understandable because they had the incumbent, and the incumbent is rarely primaried. Okay, but this is an extraordinary circumstance. We're not used to having a president in obvious decline that is losing the confidence of the American people. And they locked out Bobby Kennedy, and you don't have to like Bobby Kennedy to like the proposition that he represents a bad party system. And they would have known this, and the American people would have known this had they seen Joe Biden tested more sooner. Now, there is a theory going around that the Democrats set up this debate early not to expose that Trump was wrong about Biden, but to expose that Trump is right about Biden. Not necessarily to help Trump, but to help themselves move on. But there's only one person who can do that. President Biden has to look at his wife in the eyes, look at his sister in the eyes, and then ask himself a question. I said this 3 weeks ago, by the way, Stephen, that only Biden can make this call. He's got to look at it and say, if I really think Donald Trump is a threat to the democracy, then I have to step away. I did not get it done last night, and things will only get worse. Only he can answer that question. And he has to do that. And at a minimum, so wherever he is, President Biden should be coming out today and apologizing for how he was last night and owning that, look, I don't have my fastball anymore. I don't have the ability to dazzle you live the way a Trump can. But I know what matters, and I know how to make the decisions. I'm not the best salesman. I'm not that guy anymore, but I can do the job, and he's a danger. If I were Joe Biden's team, I would force that to happen today. But Joe Biden's got to ask himself the question. And if he steps away, do they have chaos? Yeah, they got some chaos, but they got plenty of time to pick somebody else. And I'll tell you who better hope that doesn't happen. Trump.
I totally believe you with that. But you know, speaking to a couple of other political analysts off the record, here's what I had one tell me. You can't change the candidate when the election is 5 months away. It would be suicidal and tear the Democratic Party apart. Do you agree with that at all?
No. You know, that's the problem with pundits, right? You're always in a 50-50 position. You're going to say something. If you're wrong, you just move to the next. And if you're right, you tell everybody about it.
Right.
There are no rules, Stephen A. There's so much money out there. And there's so much media saturation. You know, that answer is informed by an understanding that, like, it takes you a long time to get known in America.
Right.
We both know that's not true.
That's not true.
We have instant celebrities made every week on TikTok.
To check out the interview in its entirety, like I said, just go to the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube, and you'll check it out. It'll be there separately, just me and Chris Cuomo talking one-on-one about the presidential debate, about where we go from here, and about whether or not that should even involve his brother, former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, entering the fray. Stick around, go look for it. It'll be there for you. Let me move on to the continued fallout from the horrific school shooting that took place in Uvalde, Texas back in 2022. Former Uvalde School's police chief, Pete Arredondo, was indicted over his role in the slow police response to the 2022 massacre at an elementary school that left 19 children and 2 teachers dead, the local sheriff said Thursday. Arredondo was indicted by a grand jury on 10 counts of felony child endangerment/abandonment and briefly booked into the county jail before he was released on bond. Uvalde Sheriff Ruben Alasko told the Associated Press in a text message Thursday night. District Attorney Christina Mitchell confirmed that former school officer Adrian Gonzalez also was indicted on multiple similar charges. Over 2 years ago, an 18-year-old gunman opened fire in a 4th grade classroom where he remained for more than 70 minutes before officers confronted and killed him. In their July 2022 report, Texas lawmakers faulted law enforcement at every level with failing to, quote, prioritize saving innocent lives over their own safety. That last sentence is all you need to see. Arredondo is who I'm targeting. The other officer, don't know much about him, have to watch the video again, but I remember Arredondo. What a coward. What a disgrace. And these officers, these 2 officers that were indicted, first of all, let's make something very clear. They should never work in law enforcement again. Number 2, they should never work at any place where children are involved, ever, ever again. Number 3, I hope every night for them has been sleepless. Every single night. There are very few people in the world who don't deserve peace. You just heard about a couple of them. I want y'all to go back to the footage that they showed from years ago when that shooting took place. You know there are little children in a room with a gunman. 19 children were killed, along with 2 adults. And those punk-ass officers did nothing. They were armed. 70 minutes passed before they entered the room and killed the gunman. Ladies and gentlemen, if you and I were on the street, black, white, Latino, Asian American, Native American, Jew, Catholic, Muslim, whatever. You know one of the things all of us have in common? Children. Our love for the innocent amongst us. You could see somebody bothering a child in the streets, and you will put your life on the line to make sure that that child is safe. But an officer or two, armed, who took an oath to protect and serve, stood by while 19 children were killed. I hope they never sleep. The chances of them being convicted of the charges leveled against them by the district attorney are slim to none, according to the reports. I hope those reports are wrong. I hope they are incarcerated, especially Arredondo. What a shameful, shameful thing to happen. Children were being killed, and you stood by with your punk ass and did absolutely, positively nothing, while children were in harm's way. We know strangers who've died that put their lives on the line for children they didn't even know, who were just regular citizens. You took an oath to protect and serve. You violated your oath, and you left 19 children to be slaughtered. I'm not going to go as far as saying there's a special hell for people like that, because I understand there's levels to this, rapists, murderers, and stuff like that. But I harbor no sympathy for this man. I hope he's convicted. I hope they're both convicted. Anybody, any law enforcement official armed, having the ability to protect themselves, bulletproof vest, their own firearm, etc., and you refuse to go in for 70 minutes while 19 children are in the process of being murdered? Coward is too nice of a word to describe you. More of the Stephen A. Smith Show coming up. Take me to break before I go off even worse. It pays to get paid on Cash App. There are a lot of things in life that you care about and want to keep safe, like protecting your kids, your home, and most certainly your hard-earned money. That's a feeling that you can feel good about, right? Just like you can feel good about depositing your paycheck on Cash App, knowing you have security features like card lock and transaction alerts, so you never have to wonder if your money is safe and/or secure. With Cash App, instead of worrying about your money, you can spend your time wondering about things like, what am I gonna wear to work today? Am I gonna make it to the game on time with all of this daggone traffic? Is my team going to win? With card lock and transaction alerts, you don't have to wonder if your money is safe. And when your money is safe, you can rest easy. That's money. That's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play Store today. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Let me transition to the world of pop culture, entertainment, and in this case, a little basketball as well, since it involves a former NBA player. According to published reports, actress Teyana Taylor and former Cleveland Cavalier and New York Knicks player Iman Shumpert have finalized their divorce after 7 years of marriage and 2 children. Reportedly, Taylor will retain, listen to this, 4 of their marital properties, which have an estimated value of over $10 million, all of her jewelry, and a collection of vehicles, including a $300,000 Maybach, a $70,000 Mercedes Sprinter, a tour bus, and a Bronco truck. In addition, she will retain 100% ownership of her companies, including her production company, The Aunties. Shumpert, in return, will keep his Miami condo and 2 compounds in Georgia, as well as all of his Shump investments. He was ordered to make a one-time 7-figure payment to Taylor, along with $8,000 per month in child support, and cover the full tuition for both of their daughters' private schools. Okay. Let me get this out of the way first, right? First of all, I know Iman Shumpert. I've met his now ex-wife, but wonderful lady, Teyana Taylor, who's a really good actress, and she's got a promising future. Wishing them nothing but the best. I'm casting no aspersions upon either individual. In terms of the particulars, got no problem with a man having the responsibility to take care of his children. That's how it goes. Children, the best education, best health care, all of that kind of stuff, that's fine, okay? So 7 figures plus the $8,000 per month for 2 children, I'm sorry. I get that part, all right? I don't know why she had to keep all of those vehicles. I mean, all you need is a couple. You only got 2 feet. I mean, what the hell is this, Flintstones or something? You know, I mean, I don't understand it. I don't get that. Keeping her, you know, her investments, him keeping his investments, okay, that's cool. You know, I get all of that. I understand it. I just have a question. I just have a question out there. Could you please tell me what's the benefit of getting married? Inquiring minds want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Anything that involves taking care of the children is a given. Nobody's disputing that. You need the $300,000 Maybach? You need the tour bus? Okay, go ahead and keep the tour bus. Last time I checked, Iman Shumpert was doing some acting as well. I saw him in the Chi. He can use the tour bus. I mean, I'm just saying, somebody explain to me the benefit to getting married. You see, it's stuff like this. This is the problem in this country. Everybody should have an obligation to their children. And if you're a man, your number one responsibility is to provide and to protect. And when you are providing, that is a form of protection. If you are not providing, you are subjecting your children to a lack of protection, which is not good. So you should always have that obligation. Fair enough. But when the court system seems to punitively affect you in a detrimental fashion compared to that of the female, where's the incentive to get married? So ladies out there, I want you to understand, when a man is hesitant, when hesitancy kicks in, it might not be about you at all. It might be about the court system. Because if things go awry, if y'all ain't happy any longer, if you find somebody else you'd rather be with, or him finding somebody else he'd rather be with, damn, he got to pay. But you don't. If you got to worry about what price you have to pay if you simply fall out of love with one another anymore, a legitimate question can be asked. Why even bother? Why even bother? Before I get on out of here, let's go to the tweets, you know, to end this show for the weekend, because we got some tweets that we want to show y'all because y'all send us some tweets and I like to respond to them. So let's go to the big screen right here and look at some of your tweets. Let's look at this right here. J_D, right? Stephen A. Stafford or Dak? Talk to me, Stephen A. I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford. He's a champion. Dak Prescott has 2 playoff victories in 8 years. There's nothing to talk about here. Ain't no suspense in all of this. Stafford can ball. Stafford's better than me than Dak. Dak puts up really good numbers in the regular season, don't do a damn thing in the postseason. Stafford is Stafford. The brother can ball. It's easy to go with Stafford for this question. That's a no-brainer. That's the easiest question I had all day. Let's get to the next one, please, right here. At K Talks Life, K Tropicana. Stephen A. Smith, if you had the power to give one person a ring, who would it be? A ring? What are you talking about, sports? You talking about an athlete? Because I was about to say my girl. But since you're talking about this, I would tell you, if I had one athlete and I had the power to give that one person a ring, you know who it would be for me? Carmelo Anthony. If there's one brother that I wanted to win a championship, that I was rooting for to win a championship, it was Carmelo Anthony. I love that brother. He's good people. And he was a sensational scorer in the whole bit. It didn't happen for him. I kind of think he blew it himself because he could have been in Miami instead of Chris Bosh, and he wasn't forward thinking enough, so he cost himself a championship. You understand? By not positioning himself to get out of his contract when LeBron James and D. Wade could opt out of theirs in 2010, he messed that up, nobody else. But I root for that brother. He's a good man, good brother. I got a lot of love for him. And his brother Justice, love you too, bro. I wish that Carmelo Anthony was a champion. That's one person I would love to give a ring to above practically everybody that doesn't have one. Let's go to the last tweet right here. At Henry_ATL. Enrique, right, Stephen A. Smith. What you would have asked each candidate? What it should have said is, what question would you have asked each candidate in last night's presidential debate? What I would have asked President Joe Biden is, you swear so much that you care so greatly about the United States of America. Do you truly believe America's best option is your 81, soon to be 82-year-old Joe Biden? Do you truly believe that is the best option America has to offer? That's what I would have asked Joe Biden. What I would ask President Donald Trump, I would highlight so many of the divisive actions he has engaged in over the years. And I would say to him, I would ask him, truly, what's more important to you? America or you being in power? All of the substantive questions about policies and stuff is a given. All of the questions about his transgressions, legal and otherwise, are a given. All the questions about what lies he may have told and stuff like that, fine. Joe Biden hasn't been completely honest either, even though it's nowhere near as pathological in deceit as Trump is. But I do think it's important to ask those two questions, one of each of them, because both speaks to America being more important than your individual ego. The answers might be predictable, but you never know what you'd get from them until you ask. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. I got to get on out of here. I hope y'all enjoy a wonderful weekend. I will be back Monday talking to you in the aftermath of the Phoenix Mercury and the Indiana Fever going up against one another. Caitlin Clark versus Teyana Taurasi. Make no mistake, I'm going to talk about that. Plus, NBA free agency begins. It's a lot to get into next week, and you know I'm going to be all on top of it. Plus, some political stuff as well. It ain't going anywhere. The world ain't going anywhere. There's always something going on, and when there's something's going on, Stephen A. gonna be right here talking about it. Until next week, y'all, enjoy your weekend. Peace and love. God bless.